I opened my door at 2 a.m. and my sister-in-law was barefoot, bleeding, and crying like the world had ended. That's how it started. Claire had always seen Rachel as a shadow, the beautiful, brittle wife of Michael's older brother. They shared polite hugs at family dinners, exchanged birthday texts, and that was it. They weren't close, and Claire never questioned why. Until that night. Rachel's eyes were wild. Her left cheek was bruised, lip split, her arms wrapped tight around her waist like she was holding herself together with invisible thread. Claire didn't hesitate. She pulled her in, wrapped her in a blanket, locked the door, and sat with her on the kitchen floor until her sobs softened into silence. Not once did Rachel mention David's name, but she didn't have to. "I can't go back," she whispered, voice hoarse. "Not again." Claire had known David since college. He was charming, successful, always the loudest voice in the room. But there were rumors, slips in Rachel's stories, times she wore long sleeves in the summer. Claire had seen the signs and looked away, until now. Michael woke to the sound of voices, stumbled into the kitchen rubbing his eyes, and froze when he saw Rachel's face. "What the hell happened?" he asked. Rachel looked at Claire, not Michael, just Claire. Claire answered for her. "She's staying here, indefinitely." Michael didn't argue. He helped set up the guest room, brought an ice pack, sat beside Rachel and asked what she needed. Over the next few days, Claire became nurse, counselor, and silent witness. Rachel slept most of the time, barely ate, but when she spoke, it was always to Claire. "You don't know what it's like," she said once, "to love someone who turns into a stranger when no one's watching." Claire did know, not from experience. Michael had never raised his voice at her, but she understood betrayal, even in softer forms. A father who abandoned her, friends who disappeared when she got sick in college, the slow erosion of trust. And so she gave Rachel everything: warmth, protection, privacy. She helped her file for a temporary restraining order, found her a therapist, cooked her meals, listened. Somewhere in that silence, their relationship changed. Rachel began to help around the house. She cleaned, organized, laughed occasionally. She called Claire the calm I never had. Michael returned to work, staying later each night. Claire assumed it was stress, the tension of having a fugitive guest. But one night, she walked into the living room and saw them, Rachel and Michael, laughing over something on his phone, sitting too close. Claire didn't say anything. She trusted Michael, and Rachel owed her everything. Didn't she? The first shift was subtle. Michael stopped asking Claire how her day was, stopped reaching for her in bed. Rachel started wearing tighter clothes around the house, made jokes that landed just a little too heavily. The air changed. But Claire kept the peace, because that's what she did. Because when someone's healing, you give them space, even if that space starts to feel like it's shrinking around you. One night, Claire found Rachel sitting on the porch smoking a cigarette she'd stolen from Michael's drawer. "Do you ever wonder," Rachel asked, "if some women are just born into the wrong story?" Claire looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we're just trying to rewrite it, make the ending ours for once?" Claire didn't answer. She didn't know that by helping Rachel escape one cage, she'd unknowingly built another for herself. Because not every woman who begs for freedom is broken. Some are just waiting for the door to open. Claire believed in paying attention to small things. It was how she kept her marriage steady, her home calm, her work efficient. She noticed when Michael shifted in his sleep, when he was lying about having already eaten, when something, anything, felt off. So when she started noticing Rachel's perfume lingering longer in the hallway after Michael walked past, or how his laugh was suddenly louder when she said something, Claire didn't accuse, she watched. They weren't obvious, not yet. But trust isn't destroyed all at once. It's peeled back, one subtle gesture at a time. Rachel was recovering. That's what everyone said. Her bruises had faded. Her voice had grown stronger. She started wearing lipstick again, styled her hair, even began posting cryptic quotes on social media about rebirth and becoming who you were always meant to be. Claire had supported every step. She even drove her to the lawyer's office, waited in the car while Rachel signed divorce papers from David, and took her out for pancakes afterward. They laughed that day, cried a little too. It felt like something solid between them had finally formed, like they had turned the corner from obligation into something close to sisterhood. But the tension returned when they got home. Michael was in the kitchen, shirtless, making coffee. Rachel walked past him slower than usual, brushing his back with the tip of her finger like it was casual. Claire saw it. She said nothing. That night, Michael stayed up working late in the office. Claire brought him tea. When she opened the door, he slammed his laptop shut too quickly. She smiled. Didn't mean to interrupt. He smiled back too fast. Just invoices. Claire kissed his cheek. It was cold. The next morning, Rachel offered to make breakfast. She burned the eggs. Claire joked about it. Rachel rolled her eyes and said, "Well, at least I'm not trying to win Wife of the Year." Michael laughed. Claire didn't. By the end of the week, she was skipping dinners, staying out longer at work, needing space she didn't know how to name. The house, once quiet and warm, had become filled with a strange energy. It wasn't tension exactly. It was more like a whisper Claire couldn't hear clearly, but couldn't unfeel either. One night she went looking for her phone. She found it on the couch beside Michael's jacket. As she picked it up, a folded napkin fell from the pocket. A name, a date, a heart drawn in pen. Rachel. Claire stared at it for a long time. Then she put it back. The betrayal hadn't happened yet, not in body, but it had started. The glances were no longer hidden. The energy between them had shifted from cautious to bold. Rachel didn't even look ashamed. She wore Claire's robe now, sat in Michael's chair at dinner, made jokes about sharing husbands like it was harmless. Claire was unraveling. But she stayed quiet, because speaking the truth out loud meant facing something she wasn't yet ready to name. That night, Claire watched Michael brush his teeth in the mirror, watched his reflection avoid hers. "Are you happy?" she asked. He paused. "Of course." "You hesitated." "Claire, don't start. Things have been complicated with Rachel here, you know that." Claire nodded. "Do I?" He said nothing. And in that silence, Claire realized, you don't have to sleep with someone to betray the person you love. You just have to want to. And that kind of want leaves a scent nothing can wash away. The morning began like any other. Claire woke up alone in bed again. Michael had taken to sleeping in the guest room, claiming Rachel's late-night pacing was keeping him up. She believed it the first 2 nights. After that, she stopped asking. She walked downstairs to silence. No coffee brewing, no keys on the counter, no half-eaten toast or Rachel humming to herself in the kitchen like she owned the place. The house felt hollow. She checked the guest room. Empty. Neatly made. Rachel's clothes were gone. Her toiletries, the books she left half-read on the nightstand, the phone charger she always borrowed, all gone. Claire's chest tightened. She rushed to the master closet. Michael's side was stripped bare. She blinked, hard, like the hangers would suddenly refill if she just refused to accept what she was seeing. She opened the garage. His car was gone. Claire stood in the middle of the driveway in her robe, barefoot, wind slicing her skin like glass. She dialed his number, straight to voicemail. She tried Rachel, disconnected. It didn't make sense. They didn't even say goodbye. No goodbye, no fight, no warning. Just gone. She walked back inside, sat at the edge of the kitchen island, and stared at the fridge, where their wedding photos still hung under a magnet shaped like a pineapple. Claire in her ivory dress, Michael in a navy suit, laughing, real laughter, before Rachel, before everything blurred. Then she saw the envelope, tucked just beneath the photo, her name written in Michael's handwriting. She opened it slowly, as if the pace might soften the blow. Claire, I didn't want this to happen like this, but I also didn't know how else to leave. Michael and I, it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. It became something we couldn't ignore. I know I've hurt you. You didn't deserve this. You were always good to her, to both of us. That's what makes this so hard. I'm sorry, I truly am, but I had to go. Michael. No explanations, no details, no offer of contact. Just, I had to go. Claire couldn't scream, couldn't cry. Her body went still in that way it had once in college when she'd gotten into a car accident, the seconds after impact, before the pain registered. She called Michael's parents. His mother answered, hesitant. Claire, you knew. I didn't want to believe it. Where are they? A pause. Then, he said they were going to start over, somewhere quiet, out west. Claire hung up. The grief didn't come in waves. It came as a flood, sudden, total. For hours she sat in their bedroom, her hands shaking, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break her ribs. And then came the second betrayal. David, he called that evening, voice full of venom. You knew she was leaving me and you helped her, and now she took him too? I didn't know that. Save it, Claire. You're as much a part of this as they are. He hung up. That was the moment it shifted, when Claire realized she wasn't just a victim. She was now the other woman by proxy, the one who took someone in and lost everything. And in the eyes of everyone else, maybe she deserved it. The phone rang again. This time it was a reporter. A tip came through, they said. 2 family members disappearing at once? A scandal like this sells. Claire hung up and turned off her phone. She made tea, poured it, let it go cold. That night, she climbed into an empty bed, stared at the ceiling, and whispered a single question into the dark. Who did I just lose? Him or myself? And the silence answered. Both. 2 weeks after Michael and Rachel vanished, Claire couldn't leave the house without hearing whispers. At the grocery store, someone called her name and then pretended not to. At the post office, a neighbor asked if she had any updates, the kind of question that sounds like concern but tastes like gossip. People didn't say what they were thinking. They just let the silence say it for them. Online, it was worse. A local blog ran a headline, "Love Triangle Destroys 2 Families. Is the quiet wife to blame?" The article quoted anonymous sources that painted Claire as complicit, maybe even manipulative. That she had let Rachel stay knowing full well what would happen, that she had looked the other way. Claire stopped opening her laptop, stopped answering calls, stopped checking the mail. The woman who had offered refuge was now treated like the woman who lit the match. But what hurt more than the strangers were the people she knew. Her own sister asked, "You sure you didn't see it coming?" Michael's mother sent a message, "You were never really right for him anyway. I just wish he hadn't embarrassed all of us in the process." Even David, the man Rachel had fled, didn't come out looking much worse. Sympathy poured in for him. Poor man, lost his wife and his brother in one stroke. Claire became invisible in her own story. She took down all the photos from the walls, packed away the wedding album, stopped wearing her ring, but didn't know where to put it, so it sat in the kitchen drawer next to the old batteries and unused peas. The silence in the house was different now, not just absence, abandonment. The air didn't carry the echo of what had been. It carried judgment. She tried to go back to work, lasted 3 hours before someone in the break room asked if Rachel had really stolen him right out from under your nose. Claire walked out without a word. Grief, she learned, has many faces. Some days it looked like anger, others it was just fatigue. The exhaustion of explaining yourself to people who didn't actually care. They just wanted the drama. So she stopped explaining. She started therapy, quietly, paid in cash. She sat in a chair across from a woman named Laura who never asked the wrong questions. One day Laura asked, "What do you miss most about him?" Claire didn't hesitate. "That I never had to explain who I was. He just got me, until he didn't." Laura wrote something down and then asked, "And what do you miss about yourself?" That question hit deeper. Claire stared at the ceiling. "I miss not feeling like a fool." For a while, that became her entire identity, the woman who helped and was left, the woman who opened her door and watched everything inside be stolen. Until one afternoon, while walking through a thrift store just to escape her house, Claire found an old Polaroid camera. It was scratched, dusty, almost broken. She picked it up, turned it in her hands, and for the first time in months, smiled. There was something comforting about it, about capturing truth in a single frame, a moment that couldn't be rewritten, twisted, or stolen. She bought it, started taking pictures again, small things, honest things, her coffee in the morning, her empty bed, her reflection in cracked mirrors, pieces of herself she could hold. It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was something. And in that slow, painful process, Claire began to rebuild, not her life, not yet, but her perception of herself. Because the world could believe what it wanted, but she was no longer interested in defending what she didn't destroy. The town was small. Claire hadn't meant to find them. She was just passing through on her way to a photo exhibit in a nearby city. Her therapy had turned into art, and now her lens became the one place where she didn't feel watched. She did the watching. The gas station was quiet. Midweek, late afternoon. She was buying water and a pack of gum when she saw them through the window. Michael, pushing a stroller. Rachel, walking beside him, sunglasses on, hand on his arm like they were just any other couple. Like they hadn't blown holes through someone else's life to build this fragile-looking one of their own. Claire didn't move. She watched them laugh at something, then sit at a bench near the gas station cafe. The baby, their baby, squirmed, giggled. Michael looked older. Rachel looked sharper, not softer, not freer, just more polished, more curated. Claire stood in the corner of the store for a full 2 minutes before stepping outside. She walked slowly. When Michael saw her, his body jerked like someone had punched him in the ribs. Rachel turned, removed her sunglasses. Her face didn't register surprise, just calculation. "Well," Rachel said, "didn't think we'd see you here." Michael stood. "Claire?" She raised a hand. "Don't say my name like you remember who I am." The words hung in the air, tense, surgical. Rachel leaned on the stroller handle. "We're not looking for a scene." Claire smiled, cold. "Neither am I. I just wanted to see what you built from the rubble you left behind." Michael looked away. Claire took them in, really took them in, and realized something strange. They didn't look happy, not truly. They looked exhausted, holding on too tightly to something they weren't sure they even wanted. "I gave you shelter," she said, her voice level. "I defended you, Rachel. You cried in my arms. I wiped blood off your face." Rachel straightened. "I never asked for your protection." "No, you just used it, like you used him, like you used me." Michael stepped forward. "It wasn't planned." Claire looked at him. "You think that makes it better?" He had no answer. The baby began to cry. Rachel rocked the stroller. "We're not here to justify ourselves. No, you're here to pretend what you did didn't happen." Rachel's mouth tightened. "You saved me. I just didn't expect the price would be you." Claire's jaw clenched. "No, Rachel, you didn't save yourself. You stole what wasn't broken, then called it freedom." Rachel's voice dropped. "You still sound bitter." "No, I'm not bitter. I'm clear." She looked at Michael one last time. "You know, I used to wonder what I did wrong, what I didn't give. But now I know. It wasn't about me. It was about your emptiness and hers." They didn't stop her as she walked away. No shouting, no apology, just silence. Claire didn't cry when she reached her car. She took a photo of the street as she drove away, the gas station in the mirror, their faces already fading in the distance. And for the first time since the night Rachel knocked on her door, Claire didn't feel like the woman left behind. She felt like the one who kept walking. Claire never planned to go public. She wasn't looking for revenge. But some truths demand to be told, not to punish, but to breathe. It began as a letter, a single paragraph, written at 3:17 a.m. after a night of vivid dreams and restless clarity. She typed it out, then deleted it, then wrote it again, this time slower. She didn't name names, didn't beg for sympathy. She just told the story, her story, in clean, steady lines. "I once gave shelter to someone I thought I was saving. I gave her my home, my trust, and my silence. She took everything else, including my husband. They didn't steal each other. They stole parts of me, and I let them. Because I thought I was being kind. I wasn't. I was being erased." She posted it with a photo she'd taken, her wedding ring left on a cracked sidewalk. The caption, "Sometimes betrayal looks like love until it's finished feeding." By morning, it had been shared over 10,000 times. People didn't want names, they wanted recognition. Women and some men filled the comments with stories of betrayal, stolen friends, stolen lovers, stolen lives. Claire responded to a few, then let the rest breathe on their own. Someone recognized her. A local podcast invited her to speak anonymously. She agreed. And in that quiet studio, with a soft-spoken host and no camera to capture her expression, Claire spoke the entire truth, calmly, clearly, as if reading it from a book she had finally closed. The episode went viral. Suddenly, she wasn't the woman abandoned. She was the woman who survived, and that terrified Michael and Rachel. 3 weeks later, Michael sent an email. No subject, just 2 lines. "We heard what you said. Can we talk?" Claire didn't respond. The story wasn't about them anymore. It never truly was. She wasn't interested in reclaiming Michael or condemning Rachel. She didn't want apologies. She didn't need closure. What she needed, she already had, her voice back. The world moved differently now, quieter but fuller. She walked without shrinking. She laughed louder. She traveled, took photos of abandoned buildings, of people who thought no one was watching, of moments that deserved to be seen. She hung one of them in her hallway, a woman walking away from a house on fire, smoke behind her, light ahead. No caption, just truth. Rachel's face had appeared in a gossip column months later, some scandal about her being fired from a nonprofit after donors withdrew support. The piece hinted at reputation issues. Claire didn't read beyond the headline. Michael disappeared from the public eye, maybe out west again, maybe somewhere even quieter. Didn't matter. One afternoon, as Claire sipped tea in her garden, her therapist Laura asked her, "If you could say one last thing to them, what would it be?" Claire thought for a long time, then answered, "Thank you for showing me exactly who I never want to become." The past didn't haunt her anymore. It simply stood behind her like a storm she'd walked through. And now, she faced forward. Some betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people you swore would never hurt you. Claire gave love where there was silence. She gave protection where there was need. And in return, she was left with absence, shame, and the echo of two people calling their destruction freedom. But pain, when owned, becomes power. Claire didn't fight to get them back. She fought to get herself back. And that is what healing looks like. Because sometimes justice doesn't come in the form of revenge. It comes as peace, as clarity, as the quiet dignity of moving forward without looking back. If this story made you feel something, if you've ever given too much to someone who gave you nothing in return, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories like this. Every week on Betrayal and Forgiveness, we bring you raw, emotional truths because sometimes fiction is the only way to tell what's real.